Okay. What you just saw are the typical things they do to me. First of all, I just want to say thank you, God, because the first thing you saw was images of what some of the things that are done to women and how they burned these women, private parts, face. And that's not only men, not only women, but men too, and even children. What you saw after that, somebody looking at their phone, this is the typical clowns that live around you, try to gaslight you, to try to make you internalize this manipulation. It's so obvious, it's scary. Unfortunately, in the images you saw there, which are very known in the target visual community, we've seen those pictures a lot. But those pictures were used in the lawsuits, targeted justice versus Garland. Those were an example of what direct energy weapons were doing to target vigil. In that same lawsuit where you see this picture, in the same documents, there's reference of minors as young as 3 years old being tortured on a daily basis. The truth is, we all know that this is what's happening as target vigil. And in my videos, I bring that up all the time. The truth is, I understand is that it's not going to change what's going to happen to me. Most of you watching this know this. So a lot of these videos I do these days are for me, because it gives me strength and it's a way to stop this stupidity that they try to internalize, this rewiring that's disgusting, that they want me to internalize as if they're not manipulating me. And when I say thank you, God, some of the clowns that participate in that, there's everyday citizen involved in this, right? You have some next door neighbors who have like nothing else going on in life and try to really break you down to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government that's doing these horrible things to even toddlers as young as 3 years old. And they have the same systematic tactics. They try to paint the target individual in certain ways, manipulate the target individual in certain ways, and want the target individual to internalize the way they're painting them, the way they manipulate them, as if they're not being falsely profiled in this way and manipulated in this way. And they use the fucking disgusting clowns who think that not only they can make you believe and subscribe to this manipulation as if they're not manipulating you, subscribe to this persona they're implanting, but also try to cover up the horrible things you've seen. So when I say thank you, God, I say thank you, God, I didn't live life like this whole life. Try to cover up these horrible things you just saw, the images of these women's faces, but knowing that there's children. And for these clowns around me that you're seeing, they've been putting a lot of effort to negate how evil what they're part of is, how horrible it is to even children. And then painting themselves as protectors of children, and including this trash. I don't want to call them children. I refuse to call them children because I don't want to humanize them. These perps who are not adults, that participate in that is like utilized as a wall of stupidity that they want the target image to subscribe to. What I mean by stupidity is they want you to start thinking this nonsensical way, and they've been utilizing a lot of non-adults to push that into you. It's by design. And the worst part is these non-adults know their job and take it very seriously. They know that they really need to make this person be subscriptive and contagious to their stupidity. I want to use a different word. It's like mental retardation that they're enforcing onto you. And these non-adults are part of helping implement that, for the reason for you to accept this thing as anything but a massive government that's even harming babies and making you internalize this. I'm going to bring up example. After that, you saw pictures of little kids. The little kids, they force me to have, especially little girls, they force me to get this stimulation that they want you to internalize as if they're now manipulating, as they've done to other target individuals. There's the level of validation target individual we start getting is so many others are speaking and saying the same thing. For example, the honking that you hear, this is the typical things they do to make the target individual internalize the manipulation. They can manipulate your brain to force you to have experiences, and to the point where target individuals have lost their mind. We know the mass shooters who've made whole videos prior to doing the mass shootings, describing that I'm doing that because I'm being manipulated and I'm fighting against mind control. Some of the noise campaign that you just heard were mentioned by other target individuals before they went and tried to kill in mass. And not only just the people who ended up doing this mass shooting. That's the extreme I want to bring up. That's how validating it is. That people have gone to the point of killing in large amounts to make a statement, to speak, to bring attention to what is happening. That's the level of validation that they want you, target individual. In my case, you want me to just forget about it. We're just matching, we're rating your brain, and we're not manipulating you, when in reality they just have initially mined your brain signals, mapped your brain signals, so they can then manipulate you to have these disgusting experiences they force you to have, and then have the clowns around you, from the non-adult clowns to the grown men and women who do the typical noise campaign to try to make you internalize these things. And they're utilizing this very advanced level of technology, plus this brainwashing type of tactics, to gaslight you. By the way, while being involved in a program when it's been validated that the direct harm of children, like in this lawsuit where you see the face of these women burned, where children as young as 3 years old are mentioning this, for being tortured on a daily basis. So they want you to, one, forget about the validation that, first of all, you know yourself, you know this is not something you experience organically. Two, other have validated that this is the same things that call out the pedophilia type of torture specifically. And three, that these people who are involved in something where literally tortures of children are being applied. Sometimes genital tortures. I want you to just don't think like that. No, first of all, this level of entitlement needs punishment. You think you can cover up this level of horror? That your childishness is going to cover that up? And that's what I'm saying, these non-adults, they think that they can do that. They think their tantrum can cover up the sufferings that you just saw there. That it entitles them to do this. But not only these women, but children in the same documents are presented as victims. They thought gender could cover that up. They thought entitlement of different natures, even mothership or motherhood, I should say, can cover up the sufferings of the. I will never let them live this. And my brain is so stupid. Brace yourself about the stupidity that they want me to subscribe. There is even, and you're going to hear this after this, they have this typical ways of profiling target individual as pedophiles. It's been mentioned many times, to the point that after this video, go watch the part 2. That's what they like to make target individual appear like. That's how validating it is. That you're going to hear a woman, you know, that woman that's speaking, she's the one who helped file this lawsuit that you're seeing these pictures in. Saying, oh, target individual, they like to say it's one thing, there's all kind of defamation, but one common one is pedophilia, pedophiles. Calling target individual pedophiles. And so these clowns around you are supposed to act like they're just protecting children, when in reality they know very well how harmful they are to children and want you to accept these things. For me, they were like, oh no, what we're doing, we're going through your brain and follow the bad patterns and probably trash as you're trying to paint me in certain ways. It's so obvious that they clearly have the agenda to paint you in a certain way. In advance, is already something they already prepared, and try to find ways to fit that. It's like they already have set up, okay, we want to make this person look like this. What can we use to present that? So let me just say this in the way they do it. They already have the understanding that we're going to have to make this person look like a pedophile. Even before they manipulate you. What can we use to paint that picture? With me, usually, and today went to an extra level of stupidity that, like I said, brace yourself. This level of stupidity is being implanted in my brain, and there's clowns around me who have these gaslighting methods of acting passionate about the stupidity that they want you to internalize, thinking that's going to override common sense. For me, first they like to bring up, oh, but I remember when you were a child. They brought up me as a middle schooler, the stupid, inappropriate act of a child that I completely forgot. To be like, you see, remember what you did when you were a kid? They've been trying to exaggerate that. They've been trying to create this thing to make it worse. So they can look like, oh no, you see, that's proof. But in fact, not only they've been trying to exaggerate that, they've been even trying to create patterns by bringing something when I was even younger, trying to make that inappropriate. And changing my memory in phases. First of all, you got that stimulation. Oh, I remember that sensation when I'm even younger. And then going from the sensation, oh, that was groping. Oh, that was this and that. Stupidity. And clearly they're just wanting to find what they can do to be like, oh, we're not doing the pedophilia type of torture as we usually do. With you, it's fate. Look, when you're in middle school, not only bring up this actual inappropriate act that they try to exaggerate, but also making things up, exaggerating things that it wasn't even appropriate, try to create inappropriately as a child. And just to mess with them, we all know it doesn't take a genius to know that, okay, you're gonna bring up what a child did in 8th grade and use that as your foundation to the profiling that you're trying to paint that you're known to be, when you will all know. And you don't need to be a neuroscientist to understand that, okay, children's brain are not the same as adult brain. Wow. Literally, physically, the brain is not the same. Biologically, it's not the same. And the way it functions is not the same. But to try to even utilize that, just show how stupid they want you to be. And shows the agenda here. You already set a profile. You're just trying to fit that profile by bringing out things that can help present that. And you bring in childhood to make somebody subscribe to that. And then you use these clowns who want to override you with this fake passion to make you internalize this thing. And like, no, with you it's fake. Yeah. Coming from people who validation that they torture children as young as 3 years old. In this document that I just saw earlier, somebody called HF, they didn't give the full name because she's only 3 years old, was being tortured on a daily basis. In something where they're known to be painting target individual as pedophile. You're going to hear that in the next video. They have known to be doing the pedophilia type of torture. And it's known to be defamative and destroy the life of target individual, inclusive of mothers. Matter of fact, there's testimonies of mothers being painted in this fashion too. And it's amazing. And guess who's gaslighting you? For me, there's a high level of non-adults trying to make you internalize this stupidity. By the way, to the point where there has been mass shootings where target individuals say, I'm doing that because I'm being tormented and I can't tolerate this torment. I'm going to murder. Guess who they killed? Some of them killed next door neighbors, which are known to be participating in the gaslighting. I've never seen in my life people combating the most obvious of obvious. It's just so real obvious. And it's funny how in their mind they think like we can just, like, who's going to subscribe to that? And it makes me at the same time thankful that imagine I was supposed to do this. Imagine I had these things like that, where I'm like, you have all of this from pure obvious tortures of children, that what we involved in literally harm children. Then everything that we're doing have been done to so many others that there's so much systematic patterns that even in the lawsuit where there's pictures of women's face being burned, as giving an example of what directed energy weapon. In the lawsuit where there's 19 plaintiffs, 3 of them being minors as young as 3 years old. The lawyer is saying, oh, they love to paint target individuals as a pedophile. The first red flag here. Then the second red flag, they torture children. The third red flag, other target individuals, they do the pedophilia type of torture. And other so many saying they try to change who I am. I mean, it's surreal. But that's their job, and I'm so thankful. I am so thankful that these losers live life like this. Now, for me, I know what to do when these clowns try to come out. And it's funny the way they use this childish like individual who have this infantile closure. It's like, yeah, we proved it. It's like, pfft. You should see how they drop my stuff here now, delivery. Because they know in the second they get here, I'm going to listen to HF test tortures. A 3-year-old toddler being tortured. Who wants to stand there here and try to negate that? These childlike retards, they can be out here trying to be negating that. And with passion, like and sometimes they say it's war. It's like, okay, let your trash life be the war of covering how you use human beings as guinea pigs, as even children as young as 3 years old. Why you want me to be a mentally retard? Now let me just say this: how stupid things are. Today, and I'm gonna calmly say this. They have this ability to just take over your thought process and the way you imagine things and the way you process things. With the aid of this technology that can manipulate your brain, your thought process, plus this V2K, from which I'm targeting with V2K and synthetic telepathy and the gang stalking and the community harassment, all try to brainwash you into accepting this. I was watching this woman who talked about her life. This is a woman who's like a 6'3", 6'4" woman. Let me just say that today, they do the perfect type of torture. The pictures I was showing after, that was the kids that, when I see them, they do this stimulation, emotion, sensation, stimulation that are degrading. They do the perfect type of torture, which is not a word that I came up with. A target individual called Mariana came up with that. That's how validating. The target individual have literally came up with words like pedophilia type of torture. And these people who are involved in something that do the pedophilia type of torture still want me to have doubt that they're doing that to me. And like, now we proved it. Not only did there's mention of how they do the pedophilia type of torture, but there's also still the validation that they torture children, electrocuting children, and other things. You're gonna hear that after this part 2 of this. So for me, they do the pedophilia type of torture and be like, no, we proved that we're matching, we're mapping, we're studying, we did a test, people torture children, testing, people will do the fucking clown. The people who are known to be defamatory of target individuals, call them pedophiles. Then use of the most childlike retards that are known their job, their task is to make their retardation contagious to target individual. For me, they use these non-adults, which I don't want to call them children, because I don't want to humanize them. We're going to deal with that if they do that in front of me. By the way, to add the cherry on top of everything, guess what these matchers are doing? They tell me they're framing me with children and child porn. They tell me they're going to implant child porn and they're going to have these trashy low-life plague victims. This non-adult trash. Oh, by the way, they expect me to not react accordingly if they do that in front of me. Now listen to how stupid things are. I'm watching this woman. She's having an interview with a guy, and they talk about let's just say she's in the adult content world, and she started to talk about her story. She's a very tall woman, 6'4" or so tall, like 6'4", around that, and she's like, okay, they ask her how is the dating life as a person who works in that kind of entertainment. And she's like, I've been in the realm of sexualization for a long time, because even when she was 12 years old, she was already 5'10". So at 12, she was already taller than most women. And I guess she was looking more mature than a typical 12-year-old little girl, because she was not only like, I don't know if, but she mentioned like I was already 5'10" at 12, so I'm sure she overdeveloped very early on in her life. So she was already starting to get the looks like she was an adult woman when she was not, because she physically developed faster than the typical child. 12 years old, 5'10". First of all, they brought up the nasty way they can manipulate. With me, they play with my perception. They start bringing up when I was in the train. There was some teenager, obvious teenagers, in the train, and they love to be seen. And they know this is the most disgusting. That's why I have my body cam. Cause this trash wants to make themselves seen, and my body cam captured my microphone. I have a microphone on my body cam, so I insult them. They know that my brain can be played with. So what happens is like they have these teenagers walking around. Sometimes them try to walk like women. It's like, ugh. But in my brain, when I see them, boom, they play with my brain. I was in a train. It's funny because they do that from the youngest child to the oldest kids. Obviously, if they can do that to the babies, they can do that to older kids. There are different ways of manipulating. They can perceive their facial feature in different ways, give me stimulation, sensations. It's weird. Weird, disgusting things. Like one of the child there, they give me different sensation. Another, they can make her look more like a woman, but mixed with a different emotion. Is pure concoction of stimulation and emotion that they can do to your brain. And act like we're just matching your brain. We're rating. No, they're rating your brain in the sense of how they can manipulate you. They're rating your brain signals so they can manipulate you in the way they're degrading and act like they're protecting children. It's so disgusting. And I expect you to be a retard to be accepting this. The same fuckers involved in the program that torture children. So they bring up this when I was in the train. Some of these tiny little kids, who like maybe 12, like typical, like middle school, minuscule. And then there was like an older kid, was like maybe 15, still obviously a teenager. You can see she's a kid, and I guess physically more developed. And they were trying to make me look at this kid's breast in this way. It's like, ugh. And it's not like, listen, there's maybe some teenagers or who look like they're adults when they're not. But she clearly looked like a 15-year-old. It was just disgusting. And they tried to like, and I don't want to be insultive. They made me like even being mean. And I was like, if you can do that to this kid that's so underdeveloped physically, looks so tiny. The older kid will look a little bit more development, but still disgusting. It's going to be easy manipulation. I understand you can play my brain. But yeah, they tried to disorient me, to bring up me when I was in high school and college, going to a nightclub. But it's okay. That's their job. They just try to disorient me. And so this woman talks about that. And then she's like, today dating, on top of that, I have kids. So it's scary for me to date. I have kids and I'm scared to like date, and I'm scared of pedophiles, And she says something like where, one of the things pedophiles do is like they date single women, and I think she wanted to say single mother women. Immediately they start messing with me. Listen, I've never dated except one woman who's like 20 years older than me, who had an adult child in a different country. But I've never dated a single, beside her, she's a perp, a single mother. I don't even think beside her have I even been intimate? I'm just trying to think. Maybe yes. I'm thinking like in college I was intimate with somebody who had a child. But she were the same, and that was it. It's like we just hooked up. It was a hookup situation. But I never dated anybody who had a child. So they try to bring up this thing where, like, for me, when I see today especially, and women who are either my age or older, there is an extra appealing aspect of women who are mothers, because there's like a nurturing maturity and just like glow about them. Now, especially when they're like older, or even, and there's like a nurturing thing about them that I do definitely see them as like, there's more of an attraction because of that. Now, I've never, like I said, never dated except that woman who's 20 years older than me, who has an adult child. But I can see that it is definitely a plus, especially when they're older. When it's like a young mother, that's kind of sad. I more have compassion. It's like it's sad. It's like you've kind of failed in life a little bit. Like you feel kind of bad for them. But when you see like a grown woman who's a mother, or who, like it does add to it. Like I do have like it turns into something else. Like whereas like okay, like you have that nurturing maturity is like another thing. And so they're trying to be like, oh, you see, you want to be with single mothers, like trash us. Like you see, knowing that I've never even been dating with any except this woman that's 20. And now they make me say, oh, but what about the hookup? That one time I had once, it's like, yeah, you mean? Like, it's stupidity. It's so desperate. Be like, yeah, my profile would prove that. And then they send these retards here. Talking video, this is the level of stupidity around me. People who, it's been validated that they have these defamatory tactics. It's been validated that torture children and women. It's been validated to do pedophilia type of torture. It's been validating they are manipulative of the mind in a tormenting way. Other tagging videos have been saying the pedophilia type of torture is something that they do. And then pushing you into a state of retards. And then having, on top of that, guess who's trying to gaslight you to internalize this? Yes, this non-adult trash. Tagging video, you gotta be strong. And see these clowns for what they are. For me, it's like, thank you for giving me this wisdom. But one thing I always say I'm thankful for is, what if I was them? Because it seems like anybody can participate. It's like this they're not selective of who can join this program. And being one of this clown. You almost like be a monkey. They were doing this noise campaign, doing this for me. And for a lot of tagging video, they have the same type of like noise campaign tactics to try to gaslight you. They do this honking noise campaign. When you live in apartments, they slam doors and do things like that. They have dog barking. Everything has been literally mentioned by other target video. They have so many. They do things so systematically that you will find others saying same thing, and then be like, "No, with you, we're not doing this." Literally, this next door neighbor start having their dog barking. Which is a common thing that you hear talking about when the neighbors have pets. And they want you to internalize this manipulation. When whatever distressing experience you experience, they have these clowns having their dog bark. Can you imagine pulling that up and be like, even? But at the same time, did you see the first pictures of this woman's faces and how they're being burned? People involved in that want you to stoop to this level of stupidity. And for me, they're implanting that because they can really override you and take your mind and rewire you and implant this persona. It's like, oh, you see, mothers. Never been with a mother in regard of dating, except this 20 woman that's 20 years older than me. And now they bring up, oh, but you've hooked up when I was in college with somebody who was about my age who had a child. It's like, you see, that's proof. Like those like why not stay, like, I weren't trying to get serious. It was just really trying to, I'm in my early 20s. And by the way, I was at a place where a lot of, people were having kids quite young. Try to use that as like, yeah, you, and they try to make me imagine you wanted to be. It's like, no, I just wanted to, I'm 20-year-old. And there was a one-time thing, and, it was really physically based. But try to use that. And these clowns around you expect you to go with that when you even have validation that they torture children. So these losers who call them, it's funny, they call themselves bait. The truth is, they could be bait of different type. The bait that they can be is a bait where they're going to make me crash out. And I don't want to do that. Their childishness is not going to cover up the horrible things and the stupidity. If they thought it's going to be contagious, they're risking very dangerous things here. Because for HF, the 3-year-old that's in the lawsuit being tortured, for the 4-year-old with Down syndrome that was sexually tortured in this program with a 5-year-old sister, for the 7-year-old, there's gonna be some real action. Especially when they use these clowns that they just love this. It's like they recreate reality and they love the fact that they can, it's like a power trip, like it empowers them. You can tell. You can tell they're just like, they just enjoy this. But the worst part is like, you think you have erased these atrocious things you do to children? Come on. And they have case study of what happened to some target individual who lost their mind. They push you there and expect you nothing to happen. Target individual, I'm not here preaching violence. I hope my videos help you maintain morality. Don't be demoralized by what I'm saying, and stay strong to the end. But for me, I've understood what I need to do. Stay strong.